Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Oral Communication and Context Week 6. So for this week, we're going to talk about the different speech styles, and at the same time, the different types of speeches. But before that, let me present to you first our set of teachers for the Oral Communication and Context here in Binyan City Senior High School, San Antonio campus. Starting with, of course, Ma'am Linjoy Martin. So she's one of our teachers for the oral communication in context. And then, right after that, Ma'am Marcel Garcia. The third one is, of course, our master teacher from the English department, Ma'am Leonora O. Del Mundo. And of course, the last but not the least, me, myself, and I. So I'm Sir John Maverick and Galang. So you may call me Sir Mav, of course. So you have 4 teachers for the same subject here in Binyan City Senior High School, San Antonio campus. And if you have further question right after this discussion, feel free to contact us or feel free to send us a message for us to be able to reach out to you rather and answer your questions based on the topic that you think you are confused of comprehending, and at the same time if you have additional information to share with us. All right, so are you all ready to our discussion for this week? Good to hear that. So without further ado, let's go in 3, 2, 1. All right, so we are back to our discussion. Before I go on with the first topic, which is the types of speeches, let me present to you our objectives first. Alright, so number 1, our first objective is to distinguish the types of speeches according to purpose and delivery. Number 2, determine the types of speeches used in different real-life situations. Number 3, distinguish the types of speech style. Number 4, identify the social situations in which each speech style is appropriate to use. And number 5, observe the appropriate language forms in using a particular speech style. So let's start with our first topic or our first lesson. So this is going to be the types of speeches. So this lesson introduces you to the world of public speaking. Alright, so take a step further to enhance your oral communication skills by learning the types of speeches you can use in creating meaningful tasks. So in your module, there are various activities that you may answer based on your weekly home learning plan. But for this video lesson, I'm just going to focus on the topic that you need to learn, and then right after that, feel free to answer your module based on the tasks indicated in your weekly home learning plan. All right. So let's start with the types of speeches. So there are 2 categories of speech styles. Number 1 is the types of speech according to purpose. So for this one, we have 3 types. And for number 2, the types of speech according to delivery. So there are 4 types for speech according to delivery, and there are 3 for speech according to purpose. So let's start with the first one, the types of speech according to purpose. In Filipino, okay, mga uri ng pananalita ayon sa gamit. So number 1 is informative or expository speech. When we say informative or expository speech, it is mainly performed for the purpose of educating the audience in new or relevant piece of information on a particular topic. So what do you mean by that? So in Filipino, we are using speech sa pag-educate ng ibang tao, sa pangangaral or pagbibigay ng lesson or mga kaalaman, ganun siya. So what is the best example of this type of speech according to purpose? So for the informative, we have a lecture of a teacher. Bakit lecture of a teacher? Because the teacher is educating us. The teachers are giving us information. They are informing us to learn. Alright? So in a classroom setting, the teacher gives information or shares information to become an idea or a knowledge on the part of the students or those who are listening to him or her. Alright? So the second type of speech according to purpose is persuasive speech. When we say persuasive speech, it is given solely for the purpose of convincing the audience to agree with the speaker's opinion on a particular topic. So mean to say, when we say persuasive speech or persuasive, meaning you are convincing your listeners or the one you are talking to using your speech. What is the best example for that? The speech of a lawyer. Bakit siya reliable? Bakit siya nasabing persuasive speech? Because the lawyer knows a lot when it comes to laws, for example, or bills, and all information that is legal and valid in our society. Not only in our society, but in our nation or international based information. So their information might be convincing because they have a lot of legal basis when expressing thoughts and ideas to people. So that is considered as persuasive speech. Yung makaka-apekto sa atin, yung makakonvince tayo, yung maniniwala tayo, because lawyers are reliable persons. Alright? Reliable persons sila because they give us valid information. Alright? So number 3, the next type is the entertainment speech. So from the word itself, entertainment speech means to say to entertain people. So speech that entertains or speech that entertains people or those who are listening to your speech. So what do you mean by entertainment speech? It aims to share laughter and enjoyment to the audience through witty and humorous lines. When we say witty or humorous lines in Filipino, nakakatawa or nakakatuwa. So what is the best example of that? The speech of a comedian. Whether you like it or not, or whether you admit it or not, yung mga speech ng mga comedians, they are really nakakatawa. It serves as laughters. Alright? So it offers entertainment, and at the same time it gives us the pleasure to relax or to be happy. So that is an example of entertainment speech. So the second type of speech is according to delivery. What is the first type? Manuscript speech. What do you mean by that? It is the word-for-word iteration of a written message using visual aids. So for example, a news anchor with a teleprompter. Because what do you mean by that? Isang news anchor or yung isang broadcaster na binabasa ang teleprompter na hindi natin nakikita. We thought at first that they are memorizing their scripts or they are memorizing what they say, but it is not true. It is not true. Why? Because they are reading what exactly they need to say behind the camera. So it is a word for word reading while speaking. So in front of the camera, kala natin kabisado nila yung sinasabi nila, or talagang they are maximizing their time overnight to memorize their scripts, but it's not true. Maybe part of their script, but most of it ay galing sa teleprompter. Binabasa nila word per word. So that is an example of manuscript speech. Number 2 type, or the second type, memorized speech. From the word itself, memorized speech. So it is the rote recitation of a written message that the speaker has committed to memory. Meaning to say, memorize mo. Kahit you don't need to use manuscripts, you don't need to use everything to read because you already memorized in your mind what you really need to say. So what is the best example of that? The best example is the actor's dialogue. For actors in the television, they are not using teleprompters. They really need to memorize it, and they need to connect their emotion, or because they need to connect their emotion to what they say. That is why it is they really need to they really need to memorize their speech. Next is the third type of speech according to delivery is the extemporaneous speech. So this is already familiar to all of us. So what do you mean by that? It is the presentation of a carefully planned and rehearsed speech, spoken in a conversational manner using brief notes. So for the information of everyone, when we say extemporaneous speech, the topic is given to you ahead of time, and then you have a piece of paper, and it contains, I think, an outline of your speech. Meaning to say, the content of your index card, for example, is the outline or the flow of your speech. So you know how you will start and how you will end. It serves as your guide on what to say. So what is a best example of that? A campaign speech before a voting public. So example ng ating extemporaneous speech ay yung campaign speech before voting, yung nangangampanya ng mga tumatakbo sa eleksyon. So that is the best example of extemporaneous speech. The last one the last type for speech according to delivery is the impromptu speech. So it is a presentation of a short message without advanced preparation and is for people knowledgeable about the subject. So I mean to say, for impromptu speech, you are not given, the topic is not given to you ahead of time. It is on the spot. So you are not totally prepared. So it is given to you on the day that, on the same time that you will do your speech. So I mean to say, this is for knowledgeable people, or knowledgeable people. So for example, ako ay sumali sa impromptu speech competition. So I don't have any clues of what to say. What I only know is we will be given a topic as part of our speech, but we don't know what to say yet because bibigay pa lang sa amin yung topic, so I don't have any clues on what to say. So that is an example of impromptu speech. So another example is a doctor's response to the question of a patient. So a doctor's response to a question of a patient. Siyempre, hindi alam ni doctor kung ano itatanong sa iyo ni pasyente. So, doon mo mismo masasagot yung ano based sa tanong niya. Kasi you are not expecting anything from your patient. So, meaning to say, you are not prepared on what to say. So, since doctors are reliable source of information when it comes to health concerns, they know exactly what to say because it is based on their expertise. So yeah, this is an example of impromptu speech. So those are the types of speech, all right, according to purpose and according to delivery. So now we will going to continue our discussion about the types of speech style. So, what do you mean by speech styles? So, speech style is the way we communicate that varies depending on a lot of factors such as the speech context, speech purpose, and speech delivery. So, the form of language that the speaker uses, which is characterized by the degree of formality, is known as speech style, and that is according to Martin Juice of 1976. Alright, so there are actually 5 types of speech styles. So on your module, you will be able to encounter I think a diagram or an example of speech style or speech context, and you will identify the different speech styles there before we jump to the topic about different types of speech style. But for this video lesson, I'm going to discuss the types of speech styles, and later on, please do your activities. Alright, so the first type of speech style is the intimate. What do you mean by intimate? It is used for very close relationships. Very close relationship. Ito yung in Filipino, intimate yung parang very close relationship, yung malapit kayo sa isa't isa. May siguro, let's say, kung mag-jowa kayo, or it is between your mother and your father, or your mother and you. So those are example of intimate relationships. So another example of intimate relationship is yung couple nga. So the couples, they are considered as the best example of intimate relationship. So note that language used in this time may not be shared in public. So for the next one, the casual. So right after the intimate, the casual. So for the casual, it is an informal communication between groups and peers who have something to share and have shared background information but not have close relations. So mean to say casual conversations, casual communication. So mean to say you are just having a casual moment, casual communication or conversation with, for example, with your classmates, with your friends. Hindi ganun kalalim yung relationship, pero you were able to share information with them. Alright? So, most of the time, we will encounter in this kind of speech style yung jargon, slang, and vernacular language. When you say vernacular language, your mother tongue, or yung kinagawian nyo ng gamitin, mga expressions like lodi, mga ganyan, and casual conversations. It depends on your topic, or it depends on your conversation, how you're going to talk to one another, because there are no restrictions when it comes to casual conversations. Number 3, consultative. It is used in semi-formal and standard communication. So, what is the best example for consultative? Teacher and student. Bakit teacher and student? Because since we're talking about consultative, minsan or madalas, the student consults the teacher. And sometimes, the teacher consults the students. So, para may kumustahan na nangyayari or merong kumustahan or merong parang share of personal information or the best example is nangangamusta, parang ganun. So next, number 4, formal. When we say formal, it is a one-way straightforward speech. What is the best example for that? State of the Nation address. Why? Because there is only one-way communication process, because there are no response coming from the audience, because it is only the right of the one who speaks na magsalita. Alright? So for example, the State of the Nation address, si Pangulong Duterte, for example, or the President of the Philippines, for example, ay nagsasalita publicly. So nowadays, nanonood tayo sa social media, sa television. So that is an example of formal type of speech style. Number 5, frozen. Frozen is the most formal communicative style that is usually used during solemn ceremonies and events. So what is the best example? Pledges. So it does not require any feedback from the audience. So if I'm going to differentiate formal and frozen, for formal, one-way communication process, but if there is a response required by the speaker, pwede naman siya. But for frozen, there are no possible opportunities for the listeners to talk. Alright? So, for the formal kasi, what the speaker says is something that has been prepared beforehand. So, for frozen, it does not require any feedback from the audience. So, these are two different speech styles. So, do not be confused. Alright? So, actually, that ends our topic for this week for speech styles and speech types of speeches and different types of speech styles. So, there are a lot of activities for you to answer. So, what you need to do is answer all the activities that is included in your weekly home learning plan, and then consult your teacher for oral communication and context if you have questions or if there is something that is not clear to you, because they will answer your question within the duration of office hours from 7 a.m. to 4:30 in the afternoon. Alright? So, I hope you learned something about this topic for this week, and I hope to see you soon again by week 7 and 8. So, thank you very much for watching, everyone, and for listening, and I'm so excited to see you next week for week 7 and 8. So, thank you very much, everyone, for being with me this week, and I hope you are doing well. Stay safe, stay healthy, and be blessed. Alright? So, thank you very much, everyone. Goodbye.